The RICAS sessions, typically we break them up over a couple of days. In this case, we would do all of ELA in one day and then all of math in one day for elementary, so that we did not have to bring students in for more than that one full day. Is also looking at using the same plan. So 10th grade would come in for the PSAT 10, and that would be the only grade that would come in at that time. There is a waiver right now that's being requested by RIDE for accountability relief, so that the scores would not count towards our accountability scores. We get the data, and we would use the data for planning, but it would not count against schools, and their rating would not change. I don't know if you want to stop there before I go into student progress, or if you'd rather I go through the whole presentation and then we can address any questions.
Let's finish with the RICAS first.
Okay.
The RICAS are, you know, are mandatory federal tests that a district has to give. Some states have asked for a waiver. I believe there are 2, Maryland and maybe Virginia have asked for waivers, but the feds are saying there are no waivers going to be given for the test itself. The waiver for accountability, RIDE really expects that will be accepted, which means that they will not be published. The results will not be published. They will be given to the district, as Dr. Forand said, for planning purposes. So we are required to give it. We'll set up a schedule for giving the testing. But once again, I can't force parents to send their children in for testing, especially under this particular situation. So I want you to know that we are required to give it by federal law. If we were not to give it deliberately, our state aid could be affected by it. But you know, parents, we're going to give them the option. We want to certainly, there'll be some parents that are distance learning that may want their students to come in and take the test. And there are some parents that may not, as well as in-person parents may not want their children tested, but some may. So
Crowley, just a question on that, just for clarity, and you know, and I'll inform the school committee. I did, you know, you and I spoke about a week ago, right? And so I did send an email to Tim Duffy, the Rhode Island Association of School Committees, and asked, you know, what, you know, basically what the landscape looked like, what options might exist, and so forth. And, you know, basically, you know, said similar things to what Superintendent Crowley and Dr. Forand are saying tonight. I'm waiting on an invitation for school committee chair forum to discuss, you know, different districts' input to this. So my question to you is, so I understand that there's a waiver from an accountability standpoint. Is there, you know, and I know that, as you said, we really can't force, you know, kids into the building. So is our funding at all at risk if we have poor participation?
no.
And, you know, and I know oftentimes we don't want to kind of dance with that animal, but, you know, I'm adamantly against, you know, this, because I'm seeing, and this is just speaking me personally, right? I mean, our educators are struggling to maximize every single minute that they have in front of the teachers. So, you know, to say that, you know, we're going to mandate a test, but we're not really worried about the results, and you guys can use the data. Well, you know, I have confidence that our educators already know what the results are going to be, and in the end, all we did is lose more teaching and learning time. So I know I just lengthened my question, but the short answer is no, we won't risk any funding if we have poor participation.
No, we will not. We will not. This funding. We have to give the test. We have to make them available for people who want their children to take the test. Okay. But I think we have to be respectful, as in the case of the Common Core. Remember when they first came out, the opting out. I think we have to be respectful, especially this year, of parents' choices and the mental health of our students and mental health of our teachers. And as Dr. Forand's going to show you, we have our own assessment. that we run for our students, the iReady program, and she's going to show you that next. And so we have been keeping track. It doesn't take a genius to know that there has been learning loss across the state and every state in the United States. We know that, we recognize that, and we're already making plans for the summer and for next year to do various types of ramp up programs for our children.
Okay.
So our teachers, I feel, have a strong grasp of that, and they're fighting with it every day. We know there has been a learning loss. So I'm going to let Sandy continue with her iReady to show you what kind of assessing we have been doing of our students.
Okay. So one more question. And stop stealing Dr. Forand's thunder. Don't tell us what's on the slide.
All right, I'm sorry.
I want to wait to. But my question is, what are we going to do? And again, I in normal times I really wouldn't go down this road. But when you talk about social emotional concerns with students and the stress and so forth, for the students that are in the building, are we making accommodations so that if there is a parent that says, I do not want my child being tested? Are we making accommodations for spaces for those students? And again, normally, I mean, we've been down this road. This is, 9 years in for me. And I understand the importance under normal circumstances for, that feedback from testing. But considering everything that's going on, if we are not, are we accounting for that?
I believe the team is looking at that. Absolutely. Yeah, we will.
Okay. I'm sorry, Dr. Forand, from there. And I'll mute the superintendent so that you can speak from here.
Well, my question was along the lines of Joel's. I mean, I guess my question results about the kids. I mean, if we're not going to use this data for going forth, or we're going to use it for us to look at, but we're not really assessing ourselves, but we're asking these students to take this test, what's that going to do to these kids who can't answer these questions? I mean, you're already looking at these kids, they're social emotional, and yet they're going to be taking a test that could be too hard for them and sitting there and taking it. I'm sorry. I think that I just, what are we doing to them? If I mean, I know what these iReady scores are going to look like. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a surprise. I just think that, I don't know. I think we got to put ourselves in a little bit of a pickle here.
No, you have to give them, it's a federal.
Right, I know we have to give them, but I'm going to, then the scores are going to come home. I'm assuming we're not just going to throw them out, right? They're going to come home.
We'll still get the score reports, we always do, and we will use that data to plan, because it will give us information on the standards that we really need to focus on. And so it's a useful piece of data for us to teach from and to see where our students really are. I think you'll find the iReady data interesting once we present.
Okay, so will the data from these tests be sent home to parents?
It will. They'll get the score reports that they always get. If the student takes the test, they'll get a score report.
Okay.
And we actually are going to send a survey to all our distance learning parents asking if they need transportation, lunches, because we typically do not do a full day when students are in school. And that's the other thing. If a student was to come into school and wasn't taking the test, it's a full day. In the past, it's been half days. So, that's a long day of sitting, just working independently. So, coming into school may or may not be the best option in that case. But we're still working on the schedule with principals for both in-person and distance learning. But we will accommodate whatever happens. We don't really know what's going to happen right now. So we are planning. All right, so I'll go back to sharing the data.